something feels wrong, doesn't it? Not just in your life, but in the very way we connect love and see each other. You feel it in conversations that don't go anywhere, in relationships that feel more like negotiations, in the way people look at you but never really see you. It's not just you, and it's not just loneliness. It's a rupture in the soul of our time, a silent collapse of meaning. Carl Jung saw it coming nearly a century ago. He warned us about the cost of abandoning the inner world. He spoke of archetypes, shadow selves, and a culture losing its sacred balance. We didn't listen. And now, we're waking up inside the very crisis he tried to help us avoid. And yes, women, they aren't who they used to be. Now hold on. Before your defenses go up, hear this. This isn't some tired misogynistic rant. This is a warning. A profound insight dropped by Carl Jung nearly a century ago, one we've collectively chosen to ignore. There just doesn't seem to be much to choose from in the realm of deep, genuine connection. You feel it everywhere, don't you? In the strained silence of a first date, the awkward dance at work, even the quiet disconnect within families. Something crucial is broken. An emotional dissonance echoes through our lives. And Carl Jung, with that surgeon's precision of his mind, saw it coming. He wasn't talking about dating apps or the culture wars, no. He spoke of the soul of the animus, the masculine principle within a woman, the profound lost state of meaning. And my friend, that's precisely the landscape we're navigating today. We see women trapped in a version of empowerment that feels hollow, empowering no one in a way that fosters connection. We see men disconnected from their potent masculine energy, emotionally castrated by societal pressures, trained above all else to please. Jung called this an archetypal imbalance. When the fundamental masculine and feminine energies within us and between us stop seeking balance and start competing, chaos erupts. Today, relationships often feel less like spaces of communion and more like battlefields. No one wants to yield, but everyone desperately wants to win. But win what loneliness, anxiety, an aching emptiness. Carl Jung was a deep diver into the human psyche, a surgeon of the unconscious realm. He understood that what drives us is far deeper than superficial behavior. He posited that when a woman represses her essential feminine core, she can become masculinized in a distorted negative sense. And when a man represses his vital masculine energy, he shrinks, becoming a mere shadow of his potential. We witness this unfolding drama every single day, in almost every interaction. The issue isn't women seeking independence. That's healthy. The problem is that many have confused genuine independence with a defiant denial of the other. They've weaponized rejection, making it an identity statement. They're no longer primarily seeking love, which requires vulnerability and giving. Instead, they seek validation, but not from a partner, from the market, from an algorithm, from an invisible audience that cheers every filtered photo they post. And you know it. You've had those conversations, talking to women who aren't truly listening, just waiting for their turn to speak, measuring you, evaluating you, classifying you before they've even begun to know you. Do you know why that is? Because too many have stopped seeing people. They see opportunities or threats. Jung warned us, when the female soul disintegrates, the woman loses her capacity to love. Because to love truly is to give yourself. And to give yourself, you must first be authentically rooted in your own self. But what happens when that foundation was never truly built? When identity was constructed solely on seeking external approval, or worse, in fierce opposition to everything external? when all their strength is channeled into resistance rather than creation. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the dark, hidden part of ourselves we push away. It's made of shame, fear, old wounds, and yet it secretly runs the show until we face it. This is the essence of Carl Jung's shadow work, the courageous act of integrating what we've long denied within ourselves. Today, in many ways, the female shadow has burst into the light not for integration and healing, but for raw domination. We see women deeply wounded themselves, who instead of pursuing their own healing, seem hell-bent on destruction. It's not a lack of people, it's a lack of essence. Not many are rooted. Not many have returned to themselves. How many have dared to do the painful inner work, confronting the maternal wound, the childhood trauma, the unconscious resentment towards the father figure? Jung said that everything unconscious manifests as fate. And isn't that what we're seeing? Broken destinies, relationships that never blossom, men and women, crossing paths like ships in the night, utterly failing to connect on a soul level. And here's where it gets truly uncomfortable. Look, you are also part of this equation. You have given ground. You've learned to bite your tongue to silence that inner voice just to keep the peace. You've settled for connections that feel like lukewarm water because the thought of being truly alone felt terrifying. You've chipped away at your truth, molding yourself to fit molds that suffocate the soul. And what does that quiet compromise do? Jung would tell you it fragments you. It creates internal civil war. You've betrayed the very core of who you are. And that core, it doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive easily. Many women today, consciously or unconsciously, seem to seek control more than connection. She talks about power but doesn't seem to know what authentic power looks like. She says she wants a strong man, but only if he kneels at the altar of her demands. She craves independence, but expects to be maintained. It's a living, breathing paradox. And you're caught in the crossfire, torn between attraction and rejection, admiration and raw frustration. How does that make you feel? Don't say it out loud. You might get cancelled just for thinking it. But Jung wouldn't be silent. Jung would declare, this crisis is fundamentally spiritual, that we have lost the very language of the soul. We no longer know how to speak in symbols, in the deep metaphors that give life meaning. Myth is dead in our culture. And without myth, there is no true identity, no inner compass. That's why bonds break before they even have a chance to form. Because the other person becomes a mirror. And if you don't know who you are deep down, what you see reflected back terrifies you. Today, the female archetype is profoundly wounded, not necessarily broken beyond repair, but deeply confused, directionless. Many women have forgotten their true inner power, the deep creative relational strength of the feminine, and have fallen into the trap of competing from a place of fundamental lack-building identity, from fear attempting to seduce or dominate from a place of unconscious rage. That is not the authentic feminine. That is a mask. It is a performance. It is a projected shadow. And the worst part, on a superficial level, it often works. The system rewards it. The algorithm reinforces it. Online friends cheer it on. But deep down, they are empty. And you know it. You can see it in their eyes if you look closely. In their inability to tolerate silence, in their constant, desperate need for external stimulation, attention, novelty. Because if they sit alone with themselves for 5 minutes, the monster starts to stir. The true self, the wounded little girl, the one who was never truly seen, the one no one validated. And then often they lash out, not out of malice, but out of sheer raw defense. Jung would tell us we need to integrate, not reject, not oppose, not fight against. Integrate the animus and the anima, the masculine and the feminine principles within each one of us. But how can you integrate something you haven't even acknowledged, something you've denied exists within you? How can you genuinely connect with another soul if you are fundamentally fractured and broken inside yourself? And yes, they are often broken too. But you cannot save them. It is not your mission. Your job is not to fix the world or fix the women in it. Your job is simply not to let their woundedness drag you down. Because there is a silent war raging a psychic battle where the perceived victim can become the executioner. Where the woman who intellectually says she wants connection ends up unconsciously emasculating the man beside her. Not because she deliberately wants to, but because she doesn't know how to relate in any other way from that place of wounding and control. And you confused, accept it. Why? Because you believe that's what's expected. Because somewhere along the line you were taught that love is sacrifice, even self-annihilation. Jung would tell you point blank, that's not love. That's neurosis. So yes, in many ways it feels like there isn't much to choose from. Not because there's a shortage of human beings, but because so few have dared to do the necessary inner work. And you absolutely must do yours. Because only from a place of internal wholeness will you begin to see clearly. Only when you stop being a collection of fragmented pieces will you stop desperately searching for someone else's missing half to complete you. Jung said that meeting your soulmate isn't some magical gift bestowed upon you. It is a consequence of doing the hard inner work of individuation, of becoming who you were truly destined to be. So yes, this path feels incredibly hard right now. It's lonely. It's frustrating. But believe me, it is absolutely necessary. Because the alternative is losing yourself entirely. Diluting your precious energy in empty transactional relationships, clinging to broken promises, engaging in connections that never ever touch the sacred core of your soul. Carl Jung stated it with crystal clarity. Those who look outside dream. Those who look inside awaken. The profound question then becomes, will you keep dreaming about some idealized version of a woman who perhaps doesn't exist in that form right now? Or will you finally choose to wake up to the truth of yourself? This isn't a video against women. Let's be clear. This is a raw, urgent cry for the human psyche, for the wounded soul of both men and women, for the desperate need to return to the essential, to the symbolic, to the sacred within our connections. Because when a woman genuinely finds and integrates herself, the world around her changes in profound ways. And when a man stops frantically searching outside for what he lacks inside, he becomes an unstoppable force for good. So yes, the numbers might look discouraging. It might feel like there isn't much to choose from. But that, my friend, is not the end of the story. It is potentially the most vital beginning. The beginning of a new way to see, to relate, to simply be in this world. Because only from radical truth can anything truly real ever emerge. And truth, no matter how uncomfortable it feels initially, always sets you free. Jung knew it. Now perhaps you are beginning to know it too. And here's where things get really deeply dark. Because if what you just heard shook something awake inside you, brace yourself for this. The wound doesn't begin with the modern woman, or even the modern man. It starts with the very civilization we have collectively built. a civilization that in countless subtle and not-so-subtle ways pathologizes the feminine and often ridicules or distrusts the healthy masculine. Have you noticed that the collective soul of our culture feels sick? Jung certainly did. This isn't about one failed generation. It's about an entire cultural consciousness that has severed its connection to the deeper unconscious, to the source of meaning. We live in an era that idolizes the surface, where image has not just replaced, but actively destroyed authentic identity, where the perceived value of a person is measured almost exclusively by the amount of fleeting attention they can capture rather than the enduring depth of their character. And what happens when this becomes the cultural norm? It becomes normalized for a woman to stop asking, "Who am I authentically?" and start obsessing over, "How desirable do I seem to others?" And the man stops asking, "What is my true purpose?" and starts calculating, "How much validation can I extract from my environment?" And so, the human soul is systematically dismantled, not with bombs and bullets, but with curated feeds and Instagram filters. Carl Jung spoke of archetypes as the timeless, eternal structures embedded within the collective unconscious. The lover, the sage, the mother, the warrior. Where are these powerful guiding forces today? Where do you genuinely see the wise woman, the mature initiator? Where is the profound feminine figure that guides, that nurtures growth, that transforms not just herself, but the world around her? So often, she has been replaced by a tragic parody. The marketing woman, the woman of hollow performative empowerment, the woman with the aggressively strong speech, but a palpably fragile soul. Because behind that defiant tone, so very often, there is only profound fear. Fear of being truly seen as they are. Fear of not being enough. A desperate fear that no one will truly choose them if they don't perfectly imitate the model they've been promised will work. But here's the brutal truth. It doesn't work for genuine connection. And you know it because you have lived it. You have perhaps dated women who, by every outward societal measure, had it all. Success, independence, a massive following, a powerful online presence. But you felt profoundly alone, sitting right next to them. Why? Because they weren't present. They were projecting an image. They were performing a role. They were acting. Jung would describe it precisely. They were possessed by a complex. And when a complex takes the reins, you are no longer truly yourself. You are a mask. A carefully constructed fiction. And here's the most unsettling twist. Many of those women are not malicious architects of this problem. They are, in a very real sense, its victims. Victims of a system, a culture that never once taught them how to truly inhabit themselves, only how to relentlessly present themselves, to compete ruthlessly in a war of images, to disconnect from the innate wisdom of their own bodies, to belong by conforming, to repress their deep emotionality to be taken seriously, to look at men not as potential companions or partners, but as adversaries to be conquered or manipulated. And that kind of war isn't won. It's merely survived, often just barely. Do you want another uncomfortable truth? Many of these women have never experienced real soul-deep intimacy, not because they haven't been with men, perhaps many, but because they have never been able or felt safe enough to let go of control. And without vulnerability, there is no genuine encounter. There is only transaction. There is performance. There is manipulation. But there is no soul-to-soul connection. Jung said, "The soul enters the relationship only when we lower our defenses." And today, almost no one seems willing to lower anything. Everyone is emotionally armed to the teeth, ready for a perceived attack. And this isn't about yearning for some idealized, outdated model of the past. We're absolutely not saying women should be submissive or men dominant. That simplifies something breathtakingly complex into a caricature. What Jung proposes is something infinitely deeper, infinitely more challenging. Integration, balance. The vital return of the symbolic realm to our lives. The recovery of the lost soul. The radical recognition that both fundamental poles, the masculine and the feminine within us and between us, are profoundly wounded, and they can only begin to heal by recognizing and honoring each other. But that level of healing feels almost impossible in a culture that has twisted the profound complexities of the war of the sexes into cheap, marketable entertainment. Movies, series, books, social media trends. Too much of it feels designed to divide, to ridicule men, to caricature women, to endlessly market a conflict that benefits no one, except those who profit from the confusion and separation. And you? Where do you stand in the midst of all this noise and chaos? Because the vast majority remain asleep. They keep mindlessly playing the game, repeating empty phrases they don't truly understand, endlessly criticizing the opposite gender without ever daring to look at their own deep wounds. But you are here. You are listening. You are questioning. You are doubting. And that, my friend, is not just a good start. It is the only place to start. Because only the one who doubts the surface can awaken to the depth. Have you truly considered what it means today to simply be a woman stripped bare of feminist dogma or traditionalist expectations? What it means to inhabit that essence without needing to shout about it, without labels, without a performance, just simply being. And what does it mean to truly be a man? Beyond the tired metrics of strength, money, or external validation. Jung would articulate it this way. To be a man is to embody logos, the principle of creative order, structure, meaning. To be a woman is to embody eros, the principle of relational energy, connection, depth, transformation through relatedness. Both are necessary. Both are sacred. And right now, both are profoundly wounded in the collective psyche. And here lies the final, beautiful, terrifying paradox. Only the man who has bravely reconciled and integrated his own inner feminine, his anima, can truly know how to love deeply and wholly. And only the woman who has courageously embraced and integrated her own inner masculine, her animus, can sustain a genuine bond without unconsciously sabotaging or destroying it. This level of integration is exactly what Carl Jung's shadow work points toward: the deep psychological reconciliation of our inner opposites. But this isn't taught in schools. It isn't learned from motivational speeches. It is found in the silence, in deep introspection, in the often painful necessary work of confronting your own shadow. And almost no one seems willing to do that work today. That's why it feels like there isn't much to choose from, because most have settled for the easily consumed mask, because the raw, demanding work of truly becoming oneself is simply too painful, too slow, too real for a culture addicted to instant gratification and superficiality. But you are not here for the easy path. You are here because something deep inside you refuses to live on autopilot, refuses to accept the superficial lie as the whole truth. You are here because you sense there is something more, something that is not on the screen, not in the appearances, not in the rehearsed speeches. It is something buried deep inside you, and only you can go retrieve it. Carl Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." So I ask you again, Will you keep dreaming about the women who don't currently exist in the form you yearn for? Or will you finally commit to waking yourself up? This is not about finding the one out there. This is about becoming the one who is capable of genuine connection. This work, this process won't be easy. It will challenge you. It will hurt at times. But I promise you this: it will be profoundly, undeniably worth it. And if you've made it this far into this video, it's no accident. Something deep inside you is utterly tired of the lie. Something deep inside you is already breaking open to make way for the truth. And do not be afraid of that breaking. It is good, because only what is broken can be consciously and authentically rebuilt. Maybe this video hasn't given you all the answers. Perhaps it's left you with more questions, but perhaps, just perhaps, it has held up a mirror for you. And doing that, truly honestly looking at yourself, damn, that hurts. But it is the first step. There is one last thing I haven't told you yet, and it might be the most important truth of all. The solution is not external. It is not in wishing women were different. It is not in contorting your personality to please someone else. It is not in hating the feminine principle because of the pain you have experienced. The solution lies wholly within you, in finding your own unshakable center, in awakening that inner fire that does not depend on being chosen or being understood or being accepted by anyone else. A fire that doesn't compete, that doesn't beg, that doesn't perform. It simply burns with the light of your own authentic being. And when you burn from that place, from the core of your truth, you need nothing more than the truth of who you are. Stop expecting the external world or external women to give you what you have not yet found how to give yourself. You are the gateway. You are the alchemist, capable of transforming this confusion into clarity. Transformation begins the moment you stop begging for love and start simply embodying your own grounded presence. It begins when you stop being mesmerized by the external chaos and finally turn to look at the emptiness you carry inside. And yes, that internal emptiness is terrifying to face, but it is also sacred, because only in that vast, quiet space of emptiness is there truly room for something new to emerge. Only from the deep, often uncomfortable silence does the authentic reality of the soul begin to speak. And now I leave you with a challenge. Do not close this video. Do not move on to the next distraction without asking yourself one brutal, soul-piercing question. What part of your authentic self are you letting die every single time you adapt? You perform, you shrink yourself to fit into the noise and expectations of the world around you. Write it down, note it, engrave it onto your consciousness, because that question repeated in the quiet darkness is your truest compass. Not the algorithm, not the trends, not what they expect. That question will guide you back to yourself. Now, yes, we have reached the end of this message. And if something in this video has touched you, stirred something uncomfortable but undeniably true within you, then consider subscribing to this channel. Don't do it just to increase a number on a screen. Subscribe because you are genuinely tired of the superficial, the predictable, the comfortable lies we've been fed. This space is not for everyone. It is for those rare few who are ready and willing to think for themselves, to question everything. For those who choose the discomfort of truth over the numbing comfort of illusion. And if you feel called to mark your presence, to stand with others who understand, leave this simple phrase in the comments below: the soul does not lie. Don't explain why. Don't justify it. Just write those 4 words. If you know, you know. I say goodbye for now, but not with a light-hearted phrase or a manufactured smile. I say goodbye with this final uncomfortable truth. The silence that settles around you after this video ends, it is not emptiness. It is the quiet hum of your soul beginning to awaken, and that, my friend, has no turning back. But maybe that's not a curse. Maybe it's the first real beginning. See you in the shadow. Or perhaps, for the very first time, you will finally see yourself in the light.